Hi, my name is Lily Thompson, and this is my presentation on the topic 1991 American Baptist Churches, also known as ABC versus Thornburgh. What is this event? In 1985, a group of organizations, including American Baptist churches, filed a lawsuit against the government. They claimed that the government discriminated against certain Guatemalans and Salvadorians who had filed for asylum. In 1990, the attorneys on both sides of the lawsuit agreed to settle the case outside of court. The agreement they made is commonly known as the ABC Settlement Agreement. The ABC Settlement Agreement provided some immigration benefits for certain Guatemalans and Salvadorians. I also believe that this event falls under interpersonal oppression, which is when Salvadorians and Guatemalans were facing a lot of discrimination and a lot of prejudice towards them, including racism, that they weren't able to do anything about until the ABC settlement passed. Events leading up to the lawsuit. In 1980, the Refugee Act was signed into law by President Jimmy Carter, and that increased the annual ceiling for refugees. At the time, civil war ravaged El Salvador and Guatemala, leading many to flee, and they fled in large numbers. And when they came to the US hoping to seek asylum. But when they came here, many faced hardships such as discrimination and being treated unfairly. Why this event was significant. This helped many Guatemalans and Salvadorians face less discrimination, even though sadly some of it is still going on today. And sadly, this didn't completely stop the discrimination and the harsh reality that they were facing. But thanks to this, many Guatemalans and Salvadorians who were eligible for it received immigration benefits. How this event impacted Chicano and Latino communities. Salvadorians and Guatemalans were treated better. They were able to actually file for asylum and gave others a chance to avoid deportation or removal. Those who are eligible received benefits such as stay of deportation or removal, which is no eligible class member may be deported or removed until he or she has had an opportunity to obtain the benefits of the settlement agreement. A new asylum interview or decision. Individuals who meet the ABC requirements may receive a new asylum interview and a new decision. The new decision does not have to rely on or follow any previous decision. And detention restrictions, which is individuals who meet the ABC requirements may only be detained under the following circumstances. The class member has been convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude and receive a jail sentence of more than 6 months. The class member possesses a national security risk, and the class member possesses a threat to public safety. Luckily, those who are eligible for the ABC settlement agreement will be able to receive these benefits and be able to be treated fairly and with respect. Long-term repercussions from the ABC settlement. To this day, the benefits are still available to those who qualify and to those who are faced with unfair discrimination, and they are able to report it if they are faced with it again. Many refugees who were denied asylum now have the opportunity to seek legal asylum in the United States because of the settlement. I will now be going over critical analysis from this point forward from the rest of the presentation. Did my sources agree or disagree with my topic? The sources I chose did not seem to be for or against the topic that I chose. All of them were neutral and gave general information instead of having a bias towards a subject. One of my sources that I chose was from Library of Congress. And in this source, it gave general information about what was happening before the settlement, what happened during the settlement, and it gave a timeline to show the reader everything that took place. And it all seemed to be general information instead of being for or against it. My other source that I chose was from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, which also just gave pretty brief general information. It was questions and answers such as what is the ABC agreement, who is qualified for it, and what are some of the benefits that you could receive from it. And then my last source was from Center for Constitutional Rights, and this source did pretty much the same thing as my other two. They just gave general information, talked about what led up to it, how the settlement ended up passing, and what were some of the effects that ended up being a result from it, such as Guatemalans and Salvadorians and many other refugees being able to actually apply for asylum instead of being denied or being treated unfairly. Have I learned about this event at home or at school? Before attending this class, I have not learned about this topic at all. Matter of fact, I have never even heard of it until I came to this class, and this assignment was assigned to me. In school, we never really went over how Latinos or Chicanos really made a difference for our people and our culture, which I think falls under institutional oppression because it's involving the education system and schools and the lack of information that we received from it based on our community. And we never really went over in schools how Latinos and Chicanos had to assimilate to other cultures and other languages. And if this assignment was never assigned, I would have never dug deeper into this topic or even heard about it in the first place, which is something that I'm grateful for now because now I have knowledge that I didn't have beforehand, and it makes me realize that I should be looking deeper into situations regarding the Chicano and Latino community. Because even though these were events that happened in the past, there is still a lot of discrimination and a lot of oppression that is still happening today. Like Salvadorians and Guatemalans who came and they were facing discrimination against for trying to seek asylum is similar to what's going on today with a lot of immigrants coming and a lot of people from the border trying to stop them or at least treat them unfairly or treat them with disrespect. And that's happening around us all the time, but news media outlets don't really show what's going on to the general public unless they decide to dig deeper and actually look into what's going on rather than having it thrown at them with regular news such as Fox News or CNN News. What have you learned about the importance of ethnic studies and learning a curriculum centering a vantage point of people of color? This class is important for people to know about and to take. If I would have never taken this class, then I would have never known about half of the impacts that came from Latinos or Chicanos. I would have never known about the ABC settlement and how that has helped so many Guatemalans and Salvadorians and other immigrants to this day. Without this class, I wouldn't have known about how children who used to go to school would get in trouble for speaking their native language, such as Spanish, and how they were forced to assimilate to the culture and people around them, which falls under institutional oppression. because of the educational system and how they had to assimilate within their schools. I would have never known about how Latinos and Chicanos helped in the Civil War, about the riots that they managed to have and some of the peaceful protests that they managed to do, and a lot of the hate that they experienced because of it, and how to this day, sadly, not everything is solved. There are many immigrants who face a lot of discrimination or prejudice, such as today, immigrants who immigrate to the United States have to deal with interpersonal oppression because there are people who still have stereotypes about them and who have a lot of racism towards them, such as a lot of people who believe that immigrants coming over are just drug dealers or gang members or here to take jobs instead of them wanting to actually come and have a better future for themselves and for their families. This class has really made me open my eyes and made me realize that I myself need to actually dig deeper into these subjects rather than just having general information that I have at school. How can you take what you learned from this project to understand social justice issues currently happening around the world? This project has made me realize that I really need to go online and dig deeper instead of just watching regular news media that are always on, such as Fox News or CNN, for example. This also showed me that people could really make a difference when coming together. But it also showed me that I need to do a lot on my part, that I need to look more around the situations that are happening around me, and I need to look more into the communities and the struggles that they are dealing with to this day. Because sadly, not everything is done and dealt with. There are still a lot of immigrants who are facing a lot of prejudice, a lot of racism, and a lot of hate that they shouldn't have to be dealing with. And many people will either choose to ignore it or do nothing about it. And that doesn't help make the world a better place, and it doesn't help the communities who are dealing with all of this hatred. This made me realize that I have to actually open my eyes and look more into the social issues that are going on around me. And I could start by looking at the social issues going on within my neighborhood or within my community, such as a lot of my community members have dealt with a lot of discrimination from law enforcement, and most of them are not treated fairly because of a lot of stereotypes that are dropped onto them. And with situations like that, I can look into ways and how to help them, such as legal routes like petitions and how we can get our voices heard, or going to town meetings and talking about these issues. And finally, to wrap up this presentation, this